Hi everybody, I'm happy to be here with you all. Let's travel a little bit in the world of Chinese medicine today. The theme is about the awareness of fundamental phase of human development from a Chinese medicine approach a baby is expected. What I want to highlight here is how the women can change through pregnancy, and they change for good. There is, I would say, two ways of seeing a women when they are a mother and when they are not. It's incredible because I think mothers are touched by something divine and they change completely. I will talk about my own observation, so that's my own experience. There is nothing explicitly talking in the textbooks, in Chinese textbooks, but I'm based on it. Okay, so everything that I'm talking about here, all the concepts and everything, is based on Chinese medicine. But I can tell, following the ladies, that when they come to me that they want to get pregnant, and then during the pregnancy, and then after that, and then in another pregnancy, because I had the pleasure to follow many women with many different pregnancies, and how they change, how you ladies change. That is very beautiful to witness, and I think it's the touch of the divine. Well, but talking about divine, I want to start here with a tale, Taoist tale, Zhuangzi. Zhuangzi is one of the most important Taoist philosophers that we have, and this story, it's all about this mystical thing that follows along. So I'm gonna read it super quick. Confucius said, "I once went on a mission to Chu, and as I was going along, I saw some little pigs nursing at the body of their dead mother. After a while, they gave a start and ran away and left her, because they could no longer see their likeness in her. She was not the same. In loving their mother, they loved not her body, but the thing that moved her body." That is one of the most beautiful things. Like when I read that, I could feel like, oh, how Zhuangzi can do that, because he brings his stories with animals because he wants to show us the instinct. So there is something that is beyond our own choice, and their instincts, how we follow nature. And when he talks about the baby pigs that could no longer see their mother in the dead body, because what they recognized as their mother wasn't there anymore. And that is the first thing that we must understand about pregnancy. It's something mystical. It must be mystical. We can't really understand that. If we think about Western medicine, what we do is to describe embryology, describe the pregnancy, but not telling what happens exactly. We just describe what we see. And what I love about Chinese medicine is that we bow to the mystery and we try to follow as nature wants. So that is the first main principle of it. So with this Zhuangzi tale, I would like to share with you two important words that they are very similar in Chinese, called Shén and Shén. They are not homophone, but they are very similar. What I want to highlight here is that Shén is the aspect of consciousness. In most authors, it's still translated as spirit or spirits. And on the other hand, Shén, it's also our body. When we call Shén, it's our body itself. So it shows the connection between the body and the spirit, and this bond, it's what shapes our personality in this world, and it starts obviously in the womb. So there is a beautiful passage in the Su Wen, chapter 1. There is one of the most important Chinese textbooks, one of the classics, the Guanti Neijing, the classical of Yellow Emperor. And here it says, "Liang Jing Xiang Po Wei Zhi Shen," which means that the two essences get together and then the individual force can appear. And that is the description of conception. So when the conception happens is when not only the genetic code, that's what I like this word, Qin, that is essence, that means it's all the essence of the father and the mother that when it's merged together, it's able to bring up life, a new being that, as Elizabeth Cochat says, a very important author, that this new being possesses what is the mother, what is the father, and what's of his or her own. And this is really interesting because we think, oh, everything's about genetics, everything's about what our parents brought to us, but we never think about that we have our own thing, our own personality, and that we will carry throughout our whole life. We're gonna have to work with that. We're gonna have to develop that. I think one of the things that we are here is to develop that thing and to express to the world our uniqueness, our imprinting. And another interesting translation for Ding will be desire. So I would like to say that it is the combination of desires of our father and mother that we were able to be born. So, which means that pregnancy starts before the act of being pregnant, before even the conception. So that is a very important thing, because when we think about thought, it's not a vague concept. Everything that we actually do, first we think of it. Like if I'm seated here in a chair, so if I want to stand up, I have to think about it. I have to imagine myself out of the chair, stand it up. If I don't do that, I can't stand up. But we do that very automatically. But all the time, what you're doing is projecting, is looking at the situation before it happens. And then the act of happens, it's there. So the desire of being parent is one of the most key and relevant things about pregnancy. And that already changed the perspective, even though the body is not changing yet, even though nothing has happened yet. And then the conception happens. So we're going to stick that in mind, the beauty of the connection between the desire of the mother and father got together. And it's really nice that the Chinese call it like the fetus. It's interesting, like they already call it fetus. Obviously some textbooks, and I'm talking very old textbooks, Taoist, Confucianism and Buddhism textbooks, especially Taoism textbooks, they call it fetus, but most of them call it embryo. That is what the Western medicine talks about. And it is when the sperm, or the vital principle, the essence, merge with blood. So it's when Jing merge with Xue, the image of this essence and the blood getting together and starting to create the form. And when that thing happens, what we call Shén, the word that I just used here, the individual imprinting, the consciousness of all of us is there. So once the conception happens, there is a spirit inside the woman body. And after that, there is something that sparks a change. It's quite interesting because when I treat women to prepare for pregnancy, and we're talking, I'm access the pulse, that's one of the most relevant diagnoses in Chinese medicine. I see their tongue, I see their personality, I set up the constitutional factor of the person, and then I set up the personality of her. And then once she's pregnant, I start to see some change, the pulse pattern change, and that's what we expected. But when we see the contemporary textbooks, they just say that the pulse gets like a pearl, and that's what we expected. And that's a beautiful way of saying to the pregnant pulse, like a pearl that will feel in the pulse. But also, I can feel the difference of patterns about how the women is starting to behave, their way of seeing the world, the way of smelling, the way of... I think all of you have experienced or witnessed that before and said, oh no, it's because I'm pregnant. Yeah, obviously it's because there is another being over there and you're changing. But the fact is, once you have the baby, once you labor, even though you do not keep the same personality that was changing during pregnancy, you are a new person. Some instinct is highlighted or it's awakened inside of you. And for the Chinese medicine perspective, this is based on the change of the body throughout, the change of the body of the baby. I don't like to call the baby fetus because I really want to make you feel that it's already something in there since the beginning. I treat a lot of women that they only recognize that they are pregnant once they can see the belly growing or once they can feel the baby moving. That is oddly common. And I would like, and I try my best to help the mother and the father to understand and feel that, oh, it's already in there, everything's already in there happening. And then in the first month, there is a beautiful saying of the Shén, like the father is the color and the mother is the base, which means that one will sustain all the pregnancy and the other will protect while the changing is happening, because the women, even though it's in an abundance of essence, abundance of divine, and you can listen to me right now and say, oh, Matheus, but my pregnancy wasn't that easy, it was super hard. Well, that's another chapter of the thing. But if you see, if you follow a very healthy pregnancy, it's like an abundance of everything. And most of the women that if they had any kind of disease, they get healed of that disease, and that might come back when they have the baby or not. So it depends on a lot of things. And so I want to jump to the third month. The third month is a very interesting month, not only because of the moment that is very delicate moment, because the egg is moving to the uterus through the uterine tube. But what I enjoy about the Chinese medicine perspective is that also in the Su, when they say "You Min Wu Xin," like it has a name, because when you give a name, you give the personality, you give this something else, you give more life, So names are there to give identity of the thing. So You Ming Wu Xin. Wu Xin means there is no form yet. So that's the beginning of the form that we think about embryology. Actually, in Chinese medicine, we would say that the form will start in the fourth month. But here is the establishment. This is the bound. There is a very important meridian that is activated. So just a side note is that the meridians are activated differently in every month. So in Chinese medicine, we understand that the body is crossed through meridians, and the meridians connected to a lot of organs, what are called zangfu. And so in every month, one is activated to highlight something that is very relevant during the development of the body of the fetus or the baby. So in the third month, it is Xinju, that's a heart master. Most of the contemporary book translated as a pericardium, but it's not an accurate and good translation. Pericardium, for those who don't know, it's what envelopes the heart in a Western perspective. But in Chinese medicine perspective, it's what will protect the consciousness. It will help us to being aware of everything that surrounds us. So that means that in the third month, this Xinju meridian, Xinju Jing, it's activated, and through that activation, it is the most emotional meridian that we have. So that means that there is a very strong bond. The connection is sealed between the baby and the mother, or the babies and the mother. And after that, everything can flourish. So after that, like a seed that is opening and rooting in a very fertilized soil, can bloom. But with this blooming, that is where the true change starts. So in the 4th month, the Po, it is a very important concept in Chinese medicine that means animal soul or intuitive soul or corporeal souls, one of the many translations for that, means that this Shén, this consciousness, is being well established in the body, and the mother and the baby start to change, to interchange their own personality, which means that there is a conversation between the mother and the baby that only the two of them know. Not even the father can access that. And it's through the umbilical cord that it started in the 3rd month. And the umbilical cord in Chinese medicine is another very important concept called Shén, that is the way of the spirit. It's where it's going entirely to shape a human form with their own identity. So this Po that I'm talking about, it's where we connect to the world. So it's a very subtle aspect of Chinese medicine that correlate us with our intuitive feelings, plus with how we suffer in the world. In Buddhism aspect, they say that we suffer because we have a body. And that is exactly what is Po. Po is the envelope of the body. It's our skin, and all the development of it inside the uterus. And because of that, we can be more into the flesh, I would say. And while the baby is evolving, the mother is evolving all along together with that conversation that happens 24/7, sharing feelings, sharing nutrients, sharing everything, and shaping one another. And imagine, there is a very, very delicate, important, and deep bond that is happening over there. And what I feel really impressed and really happy to witness there is that it's how many women that I've seen that would say, I don't know if I'll be a good mother, or I don't know if I will know how to teach my own baby. I don't know if I don't know how I'll parenting then. Suddenly becomes an amazing mother, just because during this transformation, during all this embryology that I don't want to get inside embryology, not in Chinese medicine, not in Western medicine. I just want you to realize how something very deep is happening inside the woman's body. That's the reason that must be protected. That's the reason that must be nurtured. That's the reason that must be respected, and so on. And through all that change, and that's the change that the Chinese, in a very precise way, in their word called Hua, it's a change that there is no return. Hua, it's a beautiful character that means, with the etymology of the character is, we see a human standard and a human upside down, or a human that is alive and a human that is dead. So the change is the void, the space that is inside this character Hua, that makes able the change to happen, and that is for good. It's not like the seasons that once a year we have spring, for example. That is Pian. It's a slow change that will have a cycle. But Hua, it's for good. And I always say that we have the mothers and women's, because mother is something that is very mysterious to me, especially like being a man. I look at them and I admire all of you so much. And to me, as a therapist, witness that change that is very unique, and I can see through entire the pregnancy. Even when we, like in the Chinese medicine, that we recognize all those patterns through all those meridians that change, that oh, this is the emotional one, this is digestive one, oh, this is the one that you feel everything around you, oh, that is the one that is the preparation for labor, oh, that is the one that I need to take care of this and that. Besides all that technical and theoretical information, it's magical. It's really magical. So I hope all of you could understand that and feel that and respect that. All those changes are welcome. So do not try to, oh, I feel weird. Yes, okay, feel weird. Oh, I'm feeling very emotional. Yes, feel emotional. Oh, I don't understand why I started to like this sort of color and not that one anymore. Yeah, do that. So to close all of this speech, all of my talk, life to be born, life to come, we need space. That's the reason that the body is opening space. That's the reason that the uterus has a space inside. That's the reason that everything is elastic now. If we tight, it's the opposite of life. If we lose too much, it's the opposite of light. So I always give the image of a seed that we plant and put on the soil. If we tight the soil, the root can't go out and the seed won't sprout. But if we do the perfect amount of intention in this tightness of the soil and do it very gentle, the roots can go out and hold somewhere. On the other hand, if it's a way to lose, the root can't attach to nowhere. I know that is a very complicated thing that I'm telling right now, but I also know that all of women, especially during pregnancy, have all the resources inside to understand this play of tension. Just believe in your guts. That's the thing. So once you feel like weird, like, believe in your gut. Once you feel like, oh, I don't know why I'm crying, you don't need to have a reason to cry, just cry. You are in a huge change touched by the divine. And that is very explicit in Chinese medicine. And that's because I really love this sort of medicine, because that is about respecting each individuals. I hope this video reach you well and can make sense, can have some sort of understanding and highlight bring it up some kind of awareness for all of you. So I'll say goodbye to all of you. I'll end my lecture here, and I hope you get curious about Chinese medicine and go for it. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.